Alright, so the first thing we're doing now is we are multiplying two binomials. So what do we have to do with this? We have to FOIL, distribute. So we multiply negative 4 times 4. It gives me a negative 16. Then we have a negative 4 times 5i, which gives me a negative 20i. Inner, negative 3 times 4 is negative 12i. And last is negative 15i squared. We need to say what I squared is. I squared is negative 1. So what I do is I cross that out and I change the sign, because that's basically what that does. And then you combine like terms. So we have negative 16 and a negative 20 and a negative 12 is a negative 32i. Oh, shoot. Yep, plus 15. So this is 1 then. Thank you. Then on this one, same exact thing. You're multiplying. So you have 6 times my 4. So we have 6 and 4 is our 24. 6 times the square root of 7 is 6 square root of 7. Inner is negative 4 square root of 7. And then negative and a positive is a negative. Square root of 7 times square root of 7 is 7. So we have 24 minus 7, which gives me a 17. And then 6 minus 4 is 2 square roots of 7. What do we have to do since we have a square right there? We have to put it twice and then FOIL it out. Negative 2 times negative 2 gives me a positive 4. Then negative 2 times your square root of 7 is negative 2 square roots of 7. Inner is also a negative 2 square roots of 7. We have a positive and a positive makes a positive square root of 7, and square root of 7 is also 7. This time we have 4 plus 7 gives me 11. Negative 2 minus 2 is a negative 4. Whenever you are doing any of these types down here, our goal is to get the square root or whatever it's raised to a power by itself. So the first thing I have to do to this is add 8. So I have the square root of x plus 9 is equal to, we're adding 8 to both sides, so that is 6. To get rid of the square root, you have to square both sides. So I have x plus 9 is equal to 36. Subtract 9, x is equal to 27. $15 is already by itself, so what do I have to raise this to get rid of this? What would make this 1? 3 over 2, because you would flip that. So 3 over 2 on both sides. So I have x plus 6. On this side I have 4 raised to the parenthesis 3 divided by 2 is 8. Subtract 6. X should be 2. we have here, you would add 5 first. So you have 4, 3 minus x to the 4/3 is equal to 5/9. And I didn't add my 5, plus 5. So 59 plus 5 is 64. Divide by the 4. Thank you. And now I have to raise it right here to the 3/4. So I'm raising 16 raised to parenthesis 3 divided by 4. So I have 3 minus my x is equal to 8. Subtract 3, negative x is equal to 5, and then I would divide by a negative, so x is equal to a negative 5. All right. These are all about the same, so I don't feel I have to do all of them. I think I'll do 17, and then that'll give you an idea of how to do the others. So the first thing that we have is for 17, how do I get rid of the square root? Square it. So I have 3 squared, which is 9, and then x squared is equal to 12 minus 3x. Anytime you have a square and then an x, how can I solve these problems out? Quadratic. So that means I have to put them all to one side and then use the quadratic. So 9x squared plus 3x minus 12 is equal to 0. Remember, you can have a front and a back side for your cheat sheet. Make sure you have the quadratic equation on there. So that means this is A, this is B, and this is C. It is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we have a negative 3. And negative b just means opposite sign. So we have negative 3 plus or minus 9 minus 4a, which is 9, and c, which is negative 12, all over 2a. So we have our negative 3. All right, I'll just actually do this first. So we have 9 minus 4 times 9 times negative 12. All over 18. So we have negative 3 plus or minus 21 over 18. So negative 3 plus 21 divided by 18 gives me a 1. And the other one is negative 3 minus 21 divided by 18. Is a negative 1.33. Now it says in this one, it says check for extremities. What does that mean? That means that it's possible that one of these don't work in the equation. Why would one not work in the equation? What are we looking for when we have a square root here? What would happen? What could happen? We can't have a negative underneath it because then we go into imaginary. So we have to check to see if we put a 1 in here, is that still positive? Yep, 12 minus 3, that's a positive. If we put a negative in there, we have a negative here. This would make a positive number. And then, but on the other side, what's going to happen, so it actually doesn't work because of this one over here. Because 3 times the negative, that's going to be a negative number. So that's why this one doesn't work. So sometimes it'll tell you that you have to check to see, and you can literally put it in and see if it works. So 3 is equal to the square root of 12 minus 3. So that's your 9. So that is true. That one worked. If you put the other one in, it will be a negative. So you put the other negative in, and that's not going to work. And it does not. So that one's why it does not work. All right. The other ones you would multiply, and I'll leave it for you to do it. But 18, since it's raised to the 1/5, what do you have to raise both sides to get rid of the 1/5? 5 is right, the 5th. So raise both to the 5th. That cancels that out, leaving you with negative 5x minus 8 is equal to a negative 10 minus 6x. Combine like terms and then solve for your x. On 19, again, just use the quadratic is what I would do. And also use the quadratic on 20. You do have the answers on the back of your review sheet too. To check your work on those. So make sure you finish these 3 up. The rest of the hour, what I would personally do is find ones that are in this one or in the one you got today, like the stuff we did today. So you can come back with any questions that you have. Questions?
Do it